Could harm reduction be a good reason for you to continue holding on to Uncle Sam and make him win in those upcoming elections? Now, harm reduction is a public health strategy that aims to minimize the negative consequences associated with certain behaviors or condition. Rather than strictly eliminating those behaviors, it recognizes certain risky behaviors like drug use or unsafe acts may continue despite efforts to stop them, so it focuses on reducing the harm associated with these behaviors through various interventions. Examples include needle exchange programs for drug users to prevent the spread of diseases like HIV, or providing education on safer S practices to reduce the risk of sexually transmitted infections. Now, you tell me, do you think with the ongoing atrocities that Israel has committed to the people of Palestine, and with the land of the free continuing rallying behind them under Uncle Sam's reign, do you think he's still a worthy candidate that you would vote for? Leave your thoughts in the comment section.
You still have to vote for Joe Biden. Given Joe Biden's awful handling of the situation in Gaza and his failure on other issues, I've seen a lot of leftists advocate for not voting for Joe Biden or voting independent or third party or some other option. I think these takes are unserious and irresponsible, and I want to tell you why. I invite discourse and disagreement as any good leftist should, but in a direct general election contest between Joe Biden and presumably Donald Trump, you have to vote for Joe Biden. You already know this, but in the Electoral College, only 2 parties can have viable candidates at a time because of the first-past-the-post system. This means that if either party on either side of the ideological spectrum splits off from itself, the other party will have a much easier time getting the votes that it needs to win the electoral votes of whatever state this is happening in. This is why advocating to vote for someone like Cornel West, or God forbid, RFK Jr., is unserious. It's not a matter of getting a better candidate, it's math. And I say it is irresponsible because as leftists, as someone who's a socialist, our primary objective is keeping fascists away from political power. Preventing fascists from gaining political power is the bare minimum necessary requirement for us being successful on literally any of the issues we care about. I criticize Joe Biden and the Democratic Party probably just as much as I criticize Republicans for what they do, but because of the math behind the Electoral College system, because any vote that doesn't go to Joe Biden makes it easier for Trump to win, you have to vote for Joe Biden. All that to say, we use our vote to vote for harm reduction. More broadly, though, leftists need to get better at understanding what electoralism can actually do. Electoralism is simply one tool of attaining and wielding political power. Solving any major problem in the United States, like the corporate duopoly or any other issue, will require far more than just electoralism. It will require movement building, namely activities outside of merely voting. But we would be fools to forego the opportunity to make things less bad than they could be. To summarize, we as leftists need to wield political power in any and all forms that we can get our hands on. That includes voting. But that's not all. If you stayed this long, this part's for the liberals now. This is your fault. People would not be having these feelings if Joe wasn't being actively complicit inside. The weakness of Democratic politicians and candidates directly strengthens the chances that a fascist can win. The only way we solve this issue is if you come further to the left. I have so much more to say on this topic, but I'll end it here. I understand your frustrations with Joe, but there's a real difference between liberal democracy and fascism, and the only way we will resolve the tension that we're all feeling is by going further to the left.
Harm reduction for who? Harm reduction for who? Be very, very for real. One thing that you said was that we're trying to keep fascists out of power. Have you seen the new resolution? That's number one. Number two, do you understand that you are asking Muslim Americans, many of whom are watching their family die right now, that they have to vote for the person who did it? Let's read the room and implement some tact. And the thing about this that makes it so frustrating to me is that people of color always vote majority Democratic and have the most to lose when it comes down to the actual policies that these Democrats are implementing. We lost Roe v. Wade, which disproportionately affects people of color. We recently lost affirmative action. And now we're watching hundreds of billions of dollars leave our country to go fund something this horrific. Everything there has been to lose has been lost by people of color and other marginalized people in this country.
Implicit in a genocide.
You use the word aside, which is something that people who usually have your perspective don't usually use. So you gain my goodwill. And I have a question for you. And it is a good faith question. Why are you telling people, telling people to vote for Biden when you could be spending your energies berating the liberals that you consider to be the basis of Joe Biden's campaign, to use their collective pressure to make sure that black and brown people and Muslim people are hurt? FYI, I'm not American. I only suffer from your foreign policy. I don't get to vote for it. But surely as a leftist, you must understand how this looks. Here you are, a white man, telling black and brown people and people who are disadvantaged that they must stop threatening to use their only power to make sure that the Democratic Party and its internal institutions are moved into action that benefits them, which is their vote, rather than sounding the alarm to the rest of the liberals that dismay you. Why are people of color, why are Muslims not allowed brinkmanship? Why are they not allowed to ask and demand things for the people they want to vote from them? For the people who consistently, by thin margins, get them elected. Potentially, use your voice to call for a ceasefire, threatening the Democratic Party that if they don't change tack, they're going to lose the very people who get them elected. Warn them about the incoming fascism. Because they don't seem to be scared enough of fascism to stop telling minorities what to do.
My least favorite thing about this discourse of, you have to vote for Joe Biden no matter what, that the liberal Democrats and leftists keep pushing on us, is the fact that marginalized groups have been shouting questions from the rooftops for decades, asking y'all to actually put up candidates that we like, that do things for us, or answer just this one question. And maybe we should use the buzzwords that you guys love, because you keep saying that if the Republicans get into office, they're going to do a fascism. And my question to you is, and a lot of other marginalized groups have been asking, what makes you think the Democrats won't? Like, what is it about the Democratic Party that makes you think that they're not doing fascism? The 1994 crime bill that we keep reminding Biden that he did, he was a Democrat when he did that. Obama dropped 10 times as bombs on the Middle East as Bush did, or Trump would. Trump started that wall, but Biden finished it. Cop City's still being built under Biden. Biden got on TV and said that we should fund the police. Texas and Florida got rid of Black American history in their schools under him. We're protesting what's happening in Palestine and our involvement in it, and we paused for even just a moment one of the single largest televised annual events that the United States has. And just a few weeks after that, the United States Congress would vote on a resolution saying that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic. They're not listening to us. Shoot, the Speaker of the House said he won't listen to us because he's a right-wing religious zealot that only cares about his sky daddy. They're doing a fascism right now. You guys asking us to pick between the fascist with the BLM in his bio or the fascist without the BLM in his bio? Harm reduction!
Are y'all serious? What happened to candidates earning our votes? Unless there's a time machine involved somewhere, I do not see that happening. At all.
Go back and watch that whole video, because I really think this video shows that white people don't understand where they sit within the positions of power that control our world. Because this man goes on to explain the reasonings why he believes that we have to vote for Joe Biden. He goes on to explain the systems and things like that, not understanding that people like him created the system in the first place. Literally, what happened to the Americans of the American Revolution? If something is not working and you guys are seeing that something is not working, fix it. People who look like me have to fight so hard to even get our voices heard in the spaces that you can just walk in freely. On January 6th, despite what those people's political affiliations were, they did what they had to do to get their voices heard. They used their privilege, to do what they had to do to get their voices heard. And in times like this, where people are literally dying, people in Palestine are dying, being killed every day, children are being every day, You sit up on TikTok and tell people to vote for the man who is allowing these things to happen and call it harm reduction. That's wild. It's wild. And it's just so weird to me how he feels very comfortable in telling other people how to vote, yet he does not feel comfortable in turning around and looking at the community that he comes from and telling them, okay, the reasons that they need to change their system. A two-party system is not working anymore. It hasn't worked in a long time. And we've been trying to change it, okay? Do your part. And I think if you are a white person, and I really mean this, if you are a white person and you think that you do not have the power to change the system that benefits you, I need you to understand why you're thinking that way. Why do you not feel as though you have the power to change the system that runs your lives and runs all of our lives? Because whether you're a white woman and you feel like you can't do it because you're a woman, or whether you're a white man and you feel like you can't do it because of where you fall in the socioeconomic class, figure out why you feel that way and understand why that is the reason why you need to change the system in the first place. Because racism, classism, all of the isms are tied up into that reasoning, and we need to start breaking that down before 2024 hits, please.
So a lot of people have already made excellent responses to this. I just thought I'd throw my hat in the ring to see if I could add anything to the conversation. And this is an attack of this personal creator. Here's just some critiques that came to my mind, and I'm just going to read them off of my notes here. The first point is to imply Joe Biden earned a vote for, generally leftist or liberal people, just apropos of nothing, is undemocratic. Point number two is kind of, liberals play this game every single election cycle, and that, the choice is between fascism and democracy, so we have to make the right choice. And, in a very real sense, we have been sort of losing that battle, so it seems like less and less has become gained every election cycle after voting for Democrats. We witnessed the repeal of women's abortion rights. Largely we see ongoing attacks against the trans community, against LGBTQ people, the building of Cop City as a direct affront to Black and brown communities, the funding and building of the Willow Project and oil projects against indigenous communities. So it's not like we've been helped really in any real way, but to say that, oh well, if you're not careful things could be worse, it really seems to be a slap in the face to all of those communities. Point number three, it seems to be like we're already in the early stages of this sort of revisionist history that the Biden administration is playing into, particularly Biden, Blinken, and Kirby, saying that, oh, well, we will ensure that the monetary and military aid that is going to Israel, we hold them to account that it is going to be used responsibly, and then we're going to ask them and put them to task if they do not, keep a greater containment on their targeting of civilian and non-military targets, when we know that they haven't done that and they're not going to do that. They are literally getting away with murder, and they're going to continue to do that, even in the face of the fact that the Joe Biden administration knows that public support has quickly ebbed away from Israel. Every day you see mass demonstrations for Palestine. And the final point is, how do you materially hold someone responsible while at the same time giving them, access to your vote? Like, how do you say, okay, well, we know Joe Biden is doing something wrong in enabling this jihad against the Palestinian people, but I'm still going to vote for him. Like there's a conflict of interest. There's a cognitive dissonance there. So that's the only points I had to make.
The YouTubes are at it again. You know what my least favorite thing is when men come on this app and try to strong arm us into voting for somebody, and they're saying, well, regardless of what's going on in the Middle East, regardless of what's going on in the Middle East, as if you can just say what's going on. Call it like it is, babe. Call it a genocide, because that's what it is. Let us not forget that Black women had the highest voter turnout for Democrats. Let us not forget it's Black and brown communities that got Joe in office where he is right now. Let us not forget that the reason you can even say second term for Joe is because of people who look like me. Yeah? You don't get to come on this app and tell us who to vote for, especially with no plan. You only care now because policies are starting to affect y'all. But these presidents have been harming us, Democrat or Republican, since jump. You could just listen to Black and brown people and rally with us in finding a candidate that actually represents us. But we know you won't do that because you have a history of not doing that and a history of repeating history. I can go to sleep at night peacefully knowing I didn't vote for Joe in 2024. How will you sleep at night knowing you're supporting somebody who's funding inside?
Totally, right? Except, what reason does Joe Biden have to do literally anything good? We have continually enabled this man to rest on the laurels of not being Donald Trump. We sucked it up when y'all said, we'll push him left, and even though that man sat in our faces and said, you're not Black if you don't vote for me. Knowing good and well he voted against integration, but we still said, okay, he's not Trump. We can get him to be more liberal. Except we didn't. We couldn't. Because of course he couldn't. He doesn't care. In his 4 years, he's expanded the wall, increased police funding, enabled more than genocide, robbed the people of Afghanistan, continued mass sterilization and detention camps. We shouldn't have detention camps, let alone them doing medical experiments on people that can't advocate for themselves because they're not legally in the country. We lost abortion care in so many states. People are dying. Doctors are being sued and threatened with jail time for doing their jobs, saving women's lives. Affirmative action got overturned. So it just feels a lot like when they say you can't call it the master bedroom anymore in the house. Now it's the primary bedroom or whatever. That's cool, but maybe we focus on the system that caused it first. Like, more polite words with the same level of aggressive actions don't matter. At what point do we start holding people accountable? What reason does he have to do any better? We keep just co-signing him because he's not Donald Trump. And if that's the baseline, we need to move it up.
Oh my God, what a coincidence. I'm not going to. I don't have to, and I'm not going to. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Because this group of people that are threatening us with the possibility of Trump winning, they go through all of these possibilities that could possibly happen, right? They go through all the worst case scenario possibilities. And the gag is, we've already been through them. As minorities, been through every single one. And we know how to survive those. Y'all don't. Y'all don't know how to survive fascism. You would be far more effective rallying us together and asking who we're going to choose between when it comes to Claudia de la Cruz or Cornel West. Which candidate are we going behind? That would be far more effective. Which candidate are we choosing between the two? Because we can't be separated with those two. That would be more effective. But instead you're calling a maniac the harm reduction candidate. Please, I beg.
Now, I don't really know whether the policy for harm reduction is going to be enough to get back Uncle Sam into office, but one thing that I do know is he is a supporter of Is Not Real and the Palestinians that are getting unalived, right? He is supporting that. And the other thing is that the Trump train with that incident where he almost got unalived, now people are viewing him as if he's the messianic figure, something that, or somebody that should be elected, or somebody that is worthy of that. And we've discussed this in a lot of our videos. Now let's get into Uncle Sam's perspective supporting the war between Israel and Palestine. So he's recently been ridiculed. Washington, D.C., after the Israel military kaboom, a school housing displaced people In central Gaza on Tuesday, a young man stood at the chaotic scene with a rocket fragment in his hand. "This is an is not real American big bullet," he said. "We were stepping on unalived people. I cannot describe the cruelty of what is happening," the man said in a video verified by Al Jazeera after the attack in Nusarati area, which unalived 17 civilians and injured dozens. The mass casualty attacks have been a near daily reality for Palestinians in Gaza for the past 9 months. Officials and everyday people in the besieged territory have expressed outrage that the kabooms unaliving their people, in many cases supplied by the United States as part of its alliance with Israel. So you see that. This is something that you should be aware of. So I don't really know whether that harm reduction policy is gonna be enough to sideline the phenomenon of the hundreds of people that have been injured and the hundreds more that have been unalived in the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Uncle Sam is rallying right behind him and is in an alliance with Israel. He's not gonna let it slide just like that simply because people are talking about it. And even though those elections are nearby, he's still gonna rally behind them. Now, after the air raids in Al-Mahasi area of Khan Yunis unalived at least 90 Palestinians last week, the Gaza government media office blamed the land of the free directly from the attack. But US President Uncle Sam has a different view on Washington's role in the war. "I am the guy that did more for the Palestinian community than anybody," he said in an interview that aired online Monday. So, simply put, Uncle Sam said he did more for the Palestinians than anybody in history could have ever done in the land of the free office. Now, I don't really know. Is that enough for people to stop blaming him for the things and the atrocities that the people of Palestine are getting unalived for? "I am that guy that opened up all the assets. I am the guy that made sure that I got the Egyptians to open the border. I am the guy that's been able to put together the Arab states to agree to help the Palestinians with food and shelter." He added, "I mean, I have been very supportive of the Palestinians." The president of the land of the free accession was met with ridicule by Palestinian rights advocates who stressed that his unconditional support for Israel is fulfilling a genocidal against Palestinians in Gaza. So you can see that people are not having it, even though he supported the Palestinians in one way or another. But you can't serve two masters at once, right? You have to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. So in this case, he's supporting Israel and supplying them with all the pew-pews and the kabooms to unalive the Palestinians, while at the same time he's telling people to open their borders to the people of Palestine while they're getting unalived. I guess that's the whole mission, right? That's the whole mission. You chase them on the other side while you open a door for them to enter in another land so that they never go back to their original land. So he's not doing much. That's just the plan and the agenda, to remove them from their original land and to take them somewhere else. It's hard to decide whether these comments made by Uncle Sam were arrogant, blind, or deceitful. It seems that he wants to take credit for both enabling the genocide and for letting Palestinians have a little bit of medicine and water and food, said Amazara, a Palestinian-American comedian and activist. "The only thing that current President Uncle Sam did more when it comes to the Palestinians is increase their unaliving toll with US-funded Israel kabooms," she said to Al Jazeera. Now, to summarize it all, fascism is a far-right political ideology characterized by authoritarianism, nationalism, and the suppression of dissent, and that is the reason why people are worried about it. It typically revolves around a charismatic leader or group seeking centralized control over government and society, often at the expense of civil liberties and democratic principles. Concerns about fascism arise due to its historical association with totalitarianism, militarism, and the systemic persuasion of minority groups. Citizens fear the erosion of democratic norms, including freedom of speech and assembly, under fascist regimes. Additionally, the aggressive nationalism inherent in fascism can lead to conflict and instability on both domestic and international levels. Now, that summarizes our discussion for today. Leave your thoughts in the comment section and tell us whether Uncle Sam should still remain in power because of the reasons given by the palm color person, or perhaps the reason given by the people that were reacting to his video were valid enough not to bring him back. I would like to see you in the next video, so please like, share, and subscribe. Signing off and take care.